Hi everybody, good morning. How are you all doing this morning? I am Lucy Shrimpton and I'm taking over the We Are Fit and Well Instagram channel this morning to help you and share tips all about children's sleep. Babies, toddlers, preschoolers, even young children up to sort of age 6, maybe 7. The things that I share will help you with that whole age range. So if you are struggling with your child's sleep at the moment in any way, then feel free to pop a question in the comments and I'll come to those shortly. But I'm here now for the next 30 minutes to give you lots of great tips, so hopefully you can get that nice sleep you need through the night. It's such a hot topic, and so if you are struggling, please rest assured that you're not alone. Nearly all parents do struggle to some degree at some point, and 1 in 4 children have an actual, what's known as a behavioural insomnia, which means sleep challenges that are not medical related. So it's hugely common, and it mostly just comes down to the fact that people don't really know what to do. And if you don't know what to do, you're stuck, aren't you? And then it unravels. So I'm going to go through 7 key steps I want to give you to getting those sleep-filled nights this morning. So I'm going to dive straight on in because there's lots to get through. Great to see loads of you joining though. So hi to everyone who's on here live. Give me a little wave or a thumbs up if you're hearing me loud and clear. That'd be great, just so I know. Okay, so 7 steps. The first thing that I want to suggest, and now you might find this is a little different to what you've heard from any other sleep consultants before, but this is vital and this is the piece that so many people miss. But the first thing is to address any fears, concerns, traumas, anything that could trigger you as the parent or caregiver in the process of helping your child, because you can get all the expertise and guidance and tips in the world and you can have the best plan possible to help your baby or child to sleep, but if you're not ready, if you have inner fears, if you've had, for instance, a challenging birth situation or something that happened in your own childhood, if something has left you with triggers that, I don't know, crying or the slightest thing, if your own mindset isn't ready and right, you're going to either self-sabotage, you'll have an inner belief of, oh, it won't work for me, and so you will end up paying somebody loads of money to help you, but deep down you're going to make sure it doesn't work and you'll be like, oh, I can't be helped. You can, it's just a case of not being ready in some cases. So you'll either self-sabotage, you'll doubt, you'll question, you'll have a blocker there. And if you are working with an expert, that's when you end up thinking, oh, well, no, I don't think that's right. And you question them, second guess them. That's no good to anybody. You have to put Google down, you have to put all the books away, and you have to be all in on committing to a plan. So I share this because the rest of the steps are pointless if you're not ready. And the rest of the steps, they will work. It's not like maybe it'll work for me. What if it doesn't work for me? It will work for you. If you have the customized correct plan for your child, it will work. The only thing that can trip it up can be you. So I think it's so important to look at that one head on right at the beginning, because it can be the difference between success and failure when it comes to helping little ones to get to sleep. So that's number 1. So it's looking at yourself, your own fears, your own traumas, triggers, what's going on in the mind. And when you work with us at Sleep Nanny, we actually do that work with you. We coach you on that to get you ready and get you prepared. Like I said, it's a key player. Okay, so then moving on to those little ones. And if you're like, right, roll up my sleeves, I am ready, let's help my child to sleep brilliantly. The first thing you need to do with them is set up a really good environment for sleep. Now that might sound obvious, oh yeah, obviously we need a bedroom and a bed or whatever it may be. It's not always that obvious. The things that people miss are making sure that it's conducive to sleep. So yes, they need a sleep space. Now, whether they are still tiny and they're in the same room as parents, whether they share with a sibling or on their own, all of those things will be dependent on, family to family. But one thing that needs to be the case every time is that that little one has their own designated sleep space. And that space needs to be safe, number one, and it needs to be conducive to sleep. So I would highly recommend a cot or a crib that is age appropriate, that isn't set right, all of those things, all the safety guidelines. But having their own space is key. The environment needs to be dark enough. So again, people think, oh, well, in the day we'll just leave everything on, and in the night we make it dark. Sleep time is dark time. And when I say dark, ideally you want to be somewhere around 8 out of 10, if 10 were to be so pitch black you can't see anything. Really quite dark. If you feel that light is needed, if you have a child that's fearful of the dark, or if you need a little bit of light to see what you're doing, go for a very dim red or amber coloured night light, and you can get some that are so dim and suitable that you can leave it on all night long. But artificial light, dim light like that is fine. Daylight, natural light, no good. That is a form of blue light. The kind of lights I've got shining on me right now are kinds of blue light. They actually suppress the production of melatonin, which is the sleepy hormone, and make it harder for a child to fall asleep. So whilst we might be thinking, oh yeah, but I want them to be able to go to sleep in the day, that's great. And you probably could, we could take a nap on an airplane or wherever, whatever, and so can babies. But when you're training them and helping them and teaching them to learn about settling and falling asleep and what sleepy time looks like, you need to set the scene for them and help them. Again, that will act as a trigger for them. You want the atmosphere to be calm. So no crazy light shows or aquariums or all these other fancy, wonderful sensory toys that are on the market today. They are brilliant, but they're great for sensory time, for playtime, for when they're having a kickabout on the play mat, or when you're doing a nappy change or something like that. Brilliant. Have those for then, but not for sleep. Those things all encourage little ones to open their eyes and watch them and look at them. They don't encourage them to close their eyes and calm and go to sleep. So definitely you don't want those things. It's actually a very old-fashioned idea, the old classic mobile above the cot, just mesmerising them, actually is worse. You don't want things like that. So nice and calm and non-stimulating. And of course, remember the temperature. It's tricky, you've got different seasons. It's hot, then it's cold. You've got heating on, you've got windows open, whatever it may be, what time of year. But generally the temperature somewhere between around about 18 degrees C is actually a great temperature for a bedroom. Not too hot, not too cool. But the thing I like to say to parents is sometimes the temperature can be difficult to regulate in a room for various reasons. So if you know that you've dressed your baby or child accordingly for the temperature, knowing the temperature will drop in the middle of the night, if you dress them right, then you shouldn't have anything to worry about. This is where baby grows are great. And once they've got the feet in, or you can even have the little mitten bits that go over their hands, so those extremities aren't going to get cold in the night as well, because they often don't keep covers on, so and shouldn't have them at the younger ages anyway. So yeah, make sure the temperature's good and the environment is right. Now, I'm going to try not to stay on one of these for too long, because I could talk probably for half an hour on each of these steps. But I want to give you as much as I can this morning that you can actually take away, and between now and next week, with Christmas coming, you can actually implement these steps. So you're going to take care of yourself, your mindset, and address anything that you might have that's blocking you. You're going to set up that sleep environment, and then you're going to look at your routine. Now, routine is a word some people think, oh, it sounds restrictive, it sounds too contrived, and other people are like, yes, I love routine, I like to know exactly what's going to happen and when. And both of you are disappointed, because actually, well, not both of you are disappointed, actually. Let me explain this. It's not restrictive. Routines can be very flexible. Routine actually creates rhythmicity and cues and helps little ones to sleep. So a child will thrive on routine. And the good news to people who think, oh no, it's restrictive, the good news is it actually doesn't need to be, and if anything, it buys you more freedom because you have more predictability. And the good news to those who, I guess, the people who go, I guess the news to break to those who think, yes, routine, it's all going to be so, on the money and know exactly what's happening and when. Children aren't robots, and so it's never gonna be quite that spot on anyway. It does move and evolve. So actually there's a happy medium. So those two, I guess that's what I'm trying to say, those two extremes of no, it's too restrictive, or yes, routine is solid, it's actually happily in the middle, and it's exactly what your little one needs. So what do I mean by routine, and what does it need to look like? You can start a bedtime routine right from the first few weeks of a baby's life when they're tiny. It only needs to have a few basic steps, and it's all about the rhythmicity. I talk a lot about rhythmicity when it comes to newborns and young babies, because that's all you can do when they're that age. You don't sleep train them, but you help to instill some rhythms and cues, and those are the things that are going to help them sleep well as they grow. So routine, I'm going to start with bedtime because that's the key routine that you're going to do, and that's the one you're going to start at the youngest age. A few simple steps that happen in the same order every night. That's all you need to think about. Few steps, same order every evening. That will maybe involve a bath, if not a wash, just something that goes to bathroom. So you're going to go from daytime activity, where whatever you were doing, you're going to go to bathroom time. Now, it may be a bath, it may be a wash, it may be, just a flannel job, I don't know, whatever day of the week it is. Some people love to do, a nice baby massage and have that kind of just that naked time where they're out of nappies for a bit. Whatever it looks like for you, just think bathroom time. That significant step is going to happen. It's usually that one time in any 24 hours that happens, which makes it really key. It's a trigger moment. It's like, oh, we're doing this now. But the thing I want you guys to remember is once you go there, you don't go back. So from here, we're only going to go through with bedtime. We're not going to go from that to go, let's just get back downstairs and we'll just have some milk while we watch the telly. And I know there's people going, oh, we do that. So we're not going to go backwards. So once you leave the daytime environment and activity time, say goodnight to other members of the family, and it's one-on-one now. One person takes that little one, does the bathroom stuff. And then from the bathroom stuff, you're going to go through to the room which the child's sleeping in, so the bedroom that they're going to be in, and you do the last bit of the routine there. No other locations, changing locations and up and down, and it's ready for bed. Oh no, we're back to daytime. Oh, it's all confusing. Seems fine to you and I, but we want these messages to be really clear to those little minds, and it helps to set them up for sleep. Okay, so you're going to go through to the bedroom, and once you get into their bedroom, little ones are probably going to have their last milk of the day. That's fine. Older ones may be past that, but the key I'm not going to get massively into this topic today, but you want to give that milk, but you don't want them to go to sleep on the milk, and that's a classic mistake. Now, there's a whole, they can talk for hours about that, but you want to feed your little one for hunger purposes, make sure they're fed. Put a little step in your routine after the feed, whether it's a lullaby or a poem or a song, just something calm that you do after the milk. And that will really help your little one to recognise that, I have my milk, and then we do this other last thing before going to sleep. It's a great practice to get into, and it also will make for more efficient feeding because they want to feed, they want to have that, but they also know there's another thing to stay awake for, rather than them in their minds they're going, now it's time for milk, and off they go to sleep, which is a classic one that people get into. Yes, the milk will make them sleepy, and yes, milk can help to induce sleep, which is a positive thing. That's great. We just don't want it to do the entire job for the baby or the child and actually put them to sleep. So we want it to do all its wonderful things in the preparation for sleep. We don't want it to do the whole job for them and put them to sleep. We want them to do a little bit of that. Now, young babies won't do the whole thing themselves. They won't fully put themselves to sleep, but we want them to do a little bit, at least feel that sensation of falling asleep. Okay, so this is the bedtime routine. From here, what you do is going to be down to your plan. Now, every family we work with, the plan is going to be slightly different. So once you've done the milk, you've done your bedtime routine and your rituals, and it's time to put baby down and say night night, or your child or your toddler, and you say night night, what happens next depends entirely on where you are. If you've got a toddler, you might have a toddler that's getting up and you're like, that sounds all lovely, and then they get up 50,000 times. Or you might have a baby that you go, that sounds brilliant, but when I put them down they scream. There's going to be loads and loads of variables, and everyone's going to have a different story to tell. But that's what we then help you with, is we then go, okay, right, based on what you've got going on, here are the steps you need to take in terms of the bedtime settling. That's unique and on a case-by-case basis, but you do need a plan, a process, a way that you then finish the night-night process and put them down so they can go off to sleep. The other piece on routines is during the day. So let's say they've then slept through the night, they wake up in the morning, and you want to start the day with a feed. So try and get in the habit of feeding upon waking through the day. So you feed on, wake up, they then will play, have some activity time, and then go down for a nap, and then they're going to wake up and have a feed, and then play and activity time, and then go down for a nap, and try and get into that rhythm. Or if you're down to just the one nap a day, then it's kind of the same, but you're going to have lunch in there, and it evolves a bit more. But for the younger ones and those early months, you want to get in that habit of feeding upon waking through the day. That, again, part of the routine, part of the rhythm. And know how much sleep your little one needs, because that's always changing. So the amount of daytime sleep they need and the amount of time that they can manage awake between sleeps is evolving all the time. Now, when I say the amount of sleep they can manage, the amount of awake time they can manage between sleeps, what they will appear to be able to manage, what they seem to tell you they can manage, and what they really ought to be having are two different things. Often babies are better off going back for another sleep sooner than you would think. So don't wait for them to be an exhausted wreck before you go, oh my goodness, it's nap time. It was already nap time a while ago. So I always say, have one eye on the little one and one eye on the clock. Know what those windows are. Newborns can only go around 45 minutes of awake before they need another sleep. At 6 months, you're looking at maybe a couple of hours, hour and a half to 2 hours. So know what that amount of time is, and then, because sometimes the child won't tell you and you need to rely on the clock, and other times you know what the clock's saying, but your child's shattered and it's not quite time yet, and it's because they're more tired that day, need to go down earlier. So it's knowing both and kind of marrying those two factors up to get your little one down at the optimal times for sleeps. Now, the optimal time for sleep is about a 30-minute window. That's when it's prime time. If you try too soon, they're not tired enough, they're not ready. If you miss the window, they have gone overtired, they have got a second wind, which is like a rush of adrenaline through their system, and you get the Duracell bunny effect, and they are wired and they don't want to sleep. And sometimes the effect looks the same. So it's like, are they undertired or overtired? Either way, they don't want to go to sleep, and it's because you've missed the sweet spot. So finding that sweet spot is really, really key. Now, this leads me on really nicely to my fourth step, which is about being well rested and avoiding overtiredness. So when you're getting that nice daytime sleep in there, you're not keeping them awake for too long, a stretch between sleeps and causing this overtiredness. When your little one is well rested, they are more likely to settle nicely to sleep at bedtime, to have more thorough rested sleep through the night, and to wake up at a nice decent time in the morning, which is after 6 a.m. It's when little ones are overtired and they have a depleted sleep tank, they're running on empty, they're just constantly not getting enough, that causes either crash outs at bedtime, which are no good, because then they completely lose any practice of going to sleep in the first place, which means they wake up and go, oh, well, how? I don't know what to do. So you don't want the crash outs at bedtime. Or it won't cause a crash out at bedtime, it will cause a battle at bedtime, because they're so wired with overtiredness that they can't get to sleep, or they're fighting sleep. And this is where toddlers will procrastinate and mess about and so on. So overtiredness is bound to spoil the bedtime settling in one way or another. overtiredness will also lead to more shallow night sleep, meaning they're going to be disturbed and waking up more often. So you get more disturbed nights, you get less quality sleep from them. So they're not getting the deep, restorative, nourishing sleep that their brains need for their brain development, for their immune systems, for their physical well-being, for their mental health. Everything is in that deep sleep, and they don't get that deep sleep if they're overtired, and they usually wake up at 5 a.m. or around that time. So if you have an early riser, 5 a.m. wake ups, the chances are they're overtired. And we have a little philosophy here at Sleep Nanny where we would say, if a parent says, oh, my child wakes at 5 a.m. every day, we're like, where's the overtiredness? What is it? Is it naps? Is it wakeful windows? Is it bedtime too late? What's going on? And we usually find it, we always find it eventually, even if it takes some digging. So you need to avoid your little one getting into that place of overtiredness, because that's where the root of all sleep challenges tend to come from. I'm conscious of time, so I'm going to kind of try and get through the next 3 steps quite swiftly, and I can see lots of you joining and stuff. If you have questions, do type them in and I will do my very best to fit them in. Sorry, my voice is going. So, sleep onset. I mentioned this a little bit when I told you about routine, but the sleep onset is really important. That's how your little one falls to sleep, at the onset of the sleep. Now, at first, babies they don't know how to do it. It's a learned skill, by the way. It's not something they just get. And so many people go, they'll figure it out eventually. Yeah, maybe when they're 10. You're going to wait that long? It's not something they just figure out eventually. And when they do, in the cases where people say, well, mine did, but they learned it. They learned it eventually, not just figured it out. They learned it through force, probably, or exhaustion, or watching, or whatever it may be. But it is a learned skill, fact. So when babies are born, they don't know how to put themselves to sleep. They've been in the womb where there is white noise, there is movement and motion and lulling and darkness and all those lovely conducive sleep environment things. And those things have put the baby to sleep before they were born. They have lulled them off to sleep. Now they're outside in the outside world, and we think that we can place them down on a flat mattress in an empty crib and they can just go to sleep. Of course they can't. They have no idea how. So they need our help. And this is where completely instinctively we cradle them, we hold them close. That's like, the womb effect, the closeness, the bundle. We rock them, we sing to them, we do all these things that instinctively we are wanting to help them to go to sleep, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with doing that, and I don't want anyone to think that they to help their baby sleep they can't do those things. You absolutely can. The thing you need to be aware of is, how long are you going to do that for? Because yes, at the beginning, fine, but there comes a point where that becomes unsustainable. You have another child or what have you. It just isn't something you can do forever. So you need to know at what point are you going to move them on from it, and how are you going to do that. That's really important. And I think the concept I like to explain is that whilst at the beginning you're going to do it for them, they that lovely rocking and cuddling and off they go to sleep. That's doing it for them. What people think is that they have to at some point pick a time to stop doing it for them and then put them down. And they're like, I don't want to do that, they're going to cry. You don't have to do that. What I teach is gradual. It's like learning to ride a bike. You don't put a child on a 2-wheeler bike and go on then, your turn now, off you go. You don't just go from stabilizers, which is doing it for them, to removing them and going, you should just know how to do it. It's too big of a jump. That's like rocking baby to sleep one day, putting them in the crib and expecting them to go to sleep themselves the next day. It doesn't happen like that. No, there are in-between steps where you go from doing it for them to doing it with them, helping them, getting them to get a little bit more practice, get a little bit better at it, feel that sensation of falling asleep, practice and practice until they get better and better and more efficient, and they need less input from you, and then you can do less as they do more, and then suddenly you're like, they're doing it themselves, they've mastered it. And that's so lovely. And I really like to explain it in that way so that people are aware that, okay, there is an actual learning process to this, and it's an essential one. It's not a I might do that. It's necessary for children to do this, to go through this process. And I'd rather they went through it in this lovely, nice way than in a harsh crash course. Right, that's it, I'm done putting you to sleep now, you figure it out for yourself. Which sadly is what a lot of people are left with, because they don't have the resources or the know-how to do it any other way. So they just go, enough is enough, we're just going to have to do this the hard way. And it's a shame. If you have done that, it's worked for you, I don't judge you, that's fine, but it doesn't have to be that way. So how do you do that? It is about little steps. So it's about taking that, doing it for them, easing up on how much you do, allowing them space to do a little bit more for themselves. And this is why my very first step was about addressing your own fears and your own traumas and triggers and things that could cause you to sabotage yourself, because you need to be very clear in your own mind about what you're doing and how you're helping your child. Most of the time when they cry, they are literally going, I don't know what to do and I'm really tired and I want to go to sleep, but I don't know how. And that's all they're asking. They're not saying, I want milk. They're not saying, rock me more. They're just going, you do it for me. I don't know how. Help me. And so we want to help them, actually help them by showing them how, so they can get better at it. And the reason I talk about sleep onset as being so key is because once they can get to sleep at the onset of sleep, that's when they start to put that into practice through the night. So then when they wake, which we all do, we all wake many times in the night, sometimes fully, sometimes partially, sometimes we don't even know we've woken slightly, but we all cycle through different stages of sleep. And when we come up into this light sleep, we put ourselves back to sleep and go into the next cycle. When babies get into that light sleep, if they don't know how, they kind of almost fall out. I say it like they fall out of sleep. They're like, they're coming up and they're like, oh no, too much, I'm awake. And then they're awake and they're like, what do I do now? Help with, do whatever it was you did before, because I don't know what to do. But once they are able to do it at the onset of sleep, you'll find that they naturally start to do it through those wakings that they have in the night. So they go through those cycles and they either cycle one through because they get really good at it, or they do stir. But when they stir, they're like, yeah, I know this. And then they get back off to sleep, which is just beautiful and just brilliant. And that's when you get those nice, big, long, solid sleeps, because they are cycling through the different stages and getting that real healthy sleep that does so much for them. So this is why sleep onset is key. If you have a child or a baby and you say, if you're sat watching this and you think, yeah, but my baby goes to sleep fine at the beginning. I put them down and they go to sleep. It's easy, it's brilliant. It's the night wakings that are the problem. So how do I fix those if the going to sleep is fine? The going to sleep probably isn't fine. It just looks like it is. And so here's what I want to do, and this is where we almost break it and refix it. When this happens, usually the chances are what's going on is the sleep onset seems so easy, but it's because the child is so tired that when you put them down, they're just this kind of just this right level of tiredness that when you put them down, they're kind of like, yeah, maybe their like eyes are open a bit, so you think they're awake, and then off they go. If they are going to sleep in under 5 minutes or less, if they are settling themselves to sleep in 5 minutes or less, they're not really settling themselves. It's exhaustion that's doing it for them. It's, something else is really playing a big part in that, and they're not fully doing the job themselves. That is then why you have the multiple night wakings and then a difficulty in getting them back to sleep. So if you're one of these who going to sleep's fine but getting back to sleep in the night is a problem, I completely encourage you to have a look at the sleep onset and readdress that. Okay, there's 2 more pieces to this, and I know we're just slightly running over time, so ever so quickly. Step 6 is your response. So once you've got your little one to sleep, you need a consistent response to any night wakings. People are so inconsistent, and we all are, because we're tired and we're groggy and we forget. It's difficult, and sometimes we'll just do whatever we have to do to get some sleep because we're exhausted. So it's really important to get a consistent response, so you know what that response is going to be. Your partner or any other caregivers, you're all on the same page, so that your little one gets the same response to any wake up. And if the response is the same at every wake up, then soon enough they'll go, Oh yeah, okay. If the response is different, if one time it's a little pat and a shush and off they go, but another time it's a whole pick up and a milk feed, and then another time it's a, oh, well, why don't you just come into our bed? You know, if it changes all the time, then they're going to find it, you're going to find it a lot harder to get your little one back to sleep every time, because they're going to hold out and they're going to be like, no, there's something else. No, there's something else you might do. Yeah, this isn't it. And they'll stay awake, they'll keep crying or fussing or tantruming or whatever it may be at whatever age they are, holding out for one of those responses that hasn't come yet. If the response is always the same, they know where they stand. And I always say children don't necessarily like a response that you give them, but they thrive on having a consistent response, because it shows that you, as their primary caregiver, have a steady hand, that you mean what you say and that you stick to it, so they can rely on you and they can count on you. And like I said, even if they're like, oh, you're not really giving me what I want, yeah, maybe, but you are giving them what they need and you're giving them certainty. That creates such a secure attachment. It's like a child who, you know, if sometimes you take them to the supermarket and they get sweets, sometimes they don't, and they don't really know where they stand. Sometimes no means no, but sometimes you say no and then you change it to a yes. You know, sure, they might be getting their own way, but that doesn't make for great secure attachment. It doesn't make for great reliability. Whereas if they know that when you say no, you mean no, and then you don't get the tantrums and the nagging, and I'm talking about little, slightly older ones now, they know they can count on you because they know you mean what you say. And lastly is, you all know this because it applies to everything, and that is consistency. So once you follow these other steps, it's about being consistent with it. And it's about not mixing it up for the reasons I just gave about the response. So those two go hand in hand, and it's about being super consistent with it. So a little recap for you, because I've got to wrap up here. I was told 8 to 8:30, so I really must wrap up before you guys. But first of all, address any fears, any traumas, anything you've got going on with your mind, so that you know that you are in the right headspace for this first. Second of all, get that sleep environment set right for your little one. That's really, really key. Get the routine in place, get those rhythms going, rhythms and cues to create that rhythmicity for your child. They need that rhythmicity. Make sure they're well rested and that they're not getting overtired by getting naps, daytime sleeps, bedtime not being too late, all those sorts of things. Sleep onset, practice with the sleep onset. It is not a miracle thing, it doesn't happen overnight, but know what process you're going to use to put that practice in and master the sleep onset, because that is a key. It's like the magic bullet. Response, what's your response going to be? Could be consistent with it. There you go, guys. That is my 7 steps to helping your little ones not just sleep beautifully and soundly, but just to get all that nourishment and goodness that they need from their sleep. They really do need it, and so do you. So I hope this has been helpful. I've seen loads of you kind of popping on and off, and I've got some thumbs up and some waves there, so thank you so much for those. That's great. It tells me that you're receiving this loud and clear. If you watch this back later after it was live, then I hope you found it really helpful too. I'd love to hear your thoughts and questions, and see how this has helped people, because that's what I'm here for, to help you guys. So I am Lucy Shrimpton. I've been here on We Are Fit and Well this morning to give you all some guidance. I really do hope it's been helpful. You can check us out over at Sleep Nanny Official, and we can give you more help as well. I hope this has been good, and I will see you soon.